you get, Jules? You have it here.
You said you were gonna take notes. Do you want me to take notes?
If you would like to. I mean, is that being
It doesn't
bad?
matter, it doesn't matter.
Oh,
I don't mind.
You do
I
one
take a lot of notes in
on your,
meetings.
well, okay.
Well, thank you.
All right, I have on the agenda to review the minutes from June 6th. And the only thing I have to review is that I said I was going to get with Allison about the article going in the paper. And I have that appointment for tomorrow because she's been too busy to meet with me. So that will be tomorrow morning. And the only thing this is what we're talking about. With the explanation, with the descriptions. And the main reason I want to meet with her is so that we can do an intro into this, so that's not just this put into the paper and people don't know, why. So we're gonna try and work out some kind of an intro for it to go. Okay.
Explanation.
Yep.
Yep.
And Julie, you had something on it that you were gonna do?
Well, let me see if this put in here. Well, I won't say if it's put in here. I'll just say, last time I either volunteered or somehow it was decided that I would go to Sarah Tucker
Yes.
about math.
Yes.
And I did, and a couple times actually, I couldn't get her till the second time. But she had originally given us a map, like this. Remember that? And I feel like I'm
I never
presenting.
saw that.
You never saw that?
No, I missed that meeting.
So back at that time, it was brought up that those circles were from the centers of those particular properties. And that really setback would be made from the property lines back. So it was discussed that perhaps she could do another map and have, at least it was my understanding, that people wanted the actual
It takes a lot of time.
something that like a real, like the way the property really was, and then go, and that would take a very long time. There's no program in there for that, like
Not
it's
to
a basic.
automate it, you actually have to trace it and then.
Yes, and it would take days and more. And so, in talking with her, then she actually, Dawn had given us one of these ones. And I think that's what you were talking about as a plan, like that you said that there's a plan, like a comprehensive plan.
But who was talking about?
Well,
Yeah, it
you
was-
mentioned last meeting that there was a plan, like not zoning. We were talking about zoning, and you said there's not really zoning, but they
I
had,
said there was a plan,
Yeah.
but yeah,
I
that
think
was, that was done a long time
Yeah.
ago
in
for
98.
some purpose that unrelated to this, so.
Right, but Dawn brought one once, one of these.
Yeah.
And so we were looking at that, and it does tell where there are, where there would be future industrial and such, so get some of these. But in a conversation with her, and then in a conversation with a couple of people on the committee, 2 or 3 afterward, and it seems like we shouldn't, I mean, I think we wanted these in the beginning to tell how much of the town would be covered by circle. I don't know if that's why we wanted them. But I don't think it's really our job to present that, anything like that to the public. It's like, we're not required to show them that. I would think it would make more sense to find out, decide what areas that we were going to have, like the schools. I sent out a list of things we talked about, only I added a couple and then I took them off because I don't think we have any right to be doing those. And say if somebody wanted to have some kind of a business, it's up to them to go to the town and find out how close. I mean, if we say 1,000 feet, I'm just saying that, from all of these places, if there's a setback from their property lines, it's not up to us to make a map to show people where that is.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So, we don't need a map. We need
It was
places.
for, it was for our
It's just-
reference.
Yeah,
Right.
for our own references.
Because we were trying to figure out what to include, you know, because we were looking at Holton's ordinance, right?
Right,
And we were looking at their use of, instead of the state's use of just schools, I think, they use drug-free zones
mhm,
as being a qualifier of where the setback originates from.
right,
And we wanted to see, you know, if we were to include certain aspects or, you know, things else additional to schools,
mhm,
how much of the town would be zoned out of participation. You know, we wanted to make sure that, you know, well, from both sides of it, that certain areas like downtown that everyone's expressed interest in wanting to really make sure there isn't anything visibly that changes about the historic side of Bethel. But also we don't want to zone out the whole industry
exactly.
from town, so we want to make sure that we find the right, it was essentially just gonna be a guide for reference.
So,
Make sure that-
Can we I made some of these bigger, and then Dawn and I were talking about like making them big and putting circles all, but can't we just do that with our brains? If we have something to look at?
I think, so do you remember why this land use plan was put together?
Do not copy that.
I think it
I
was
have-
simply
He's
a
got a
kind of
big
a
ones.
projection in the minds of some as to how the town would develop.
Yeah, and I think there was a discussion as to whether or not to implement some type of zoning, and this was essentially like a plan, but it didn't actually get passed into.
No, it never came to a point where, you know, an official map with a point side of the road where commercial area started
Yeah.
and went, it was more based on, you know, what's going on. I
Yeah,
mean,
like what's
you
already
had-
there, what's already developed.
Exactly, the airport stuff was already here,
I bought
know,
some
what-
landing.
what simply is logical for things to happen. Well, obviously coming up 26, that's, we're not gonna do anything on Grover Hill Road because nobody passes by there as much as they do. The 26 is obvious, and 2 and 26 out of town is obvious.
It's obvious for what?
Development, whether it be commercial or, you know, whatever. So, again, that simply, I think, was just kind of just what you guys are talking about, only in a different, you know, in a different realm. Just what's going to happen in town and where is it going to happen? Well, here are the most logical places.
I mentioned to Toby, I said it seems like it would make more sense if we just put where things can be instead of they can't be. He said, ordinances never do that. That would make sense, but I think that would be zoning.
Well,
Don, do you know if there is, I mean, obviously I don't believe it's in my book, but is there a list, or is it, are all
He's trying to.
drug-free areas posted?
We certainly went through here a few meetings
We just have
back.
to decide from what.
But so,
and
So, and we
I
should
think
put it in
Christine
the
had,
Wait.
yeah, Christine and perhaps Toby and perhaps Scott Sumner went through trying to kind of, you know, put a list together as to what was official town.
So, yeah, because, all right, my question was, is there a list, or are all drug-free zones posted in the town? And the reason we would need to know that, because if we put it in the ordinance and there's not a list or there's not posting, then how are they gonna know?
I'm pretty sure they're all posted.
Yeah, by law, they have to be posted to be a drug-free zone.
Okay. That was the question, so that we can just
I just
say
said,
that drug-free zones, you know, are limits.
so we think that that's the way it is, but we don't know that.
That's the way it's written in Holton's ordinance.
That's
Right, but we do not know that if we go to the state to the skate park over here that it's going to say this is a drug-free zone?
I'm pretty
He
sure
just said it
Or
was.
the basketball court?
He just said it was.
around that park area.
Yeah, I just saw it
And
today at the
It's posted.
basketball, yes.
the walking path, I believe, is
Yeah.
probably included in that as well.
So, should we go through this list? Cause I didn't get a response from anybody as to whether this was correct or not.
Oh,
I
wait,
sent this to everybody, but I was trying to remember.
Do you wanna list that in the ordinance itself, or you just wanna say
No,
drug-free zones?
No, we just wanna say drug-free.
Drug-free zone, yeah.
Because that allows for anything else that's posted
Right.
to be included,
Exactly.
whether, otherwise that's.
We don't need to
definitive.
have the actual list of each individual.
So if all these
location.
churches, if they don't all have one, then they're not gonna count. I don't trust that signs are where they're supposed to be. But if that's what, I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
If
the ordinance
Valentine Farm
passed, you better
Conservation.
believe that if somebody doesn't want to near them, they will make sure that the sign is on.
Okay.
Right,
So-
so someone mentioned the Valentine Farm Conservation Center. I mean, these were things that were mentioned, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 churches that I could think of. The campgrounds, those are private,
That's their
actually.
private property.
And then someone mentioned the historic district, is that
That's
posted?
Ooh,
I said it
I
down,
have
but-
no idea, again, my sense of it is if you just work in the ordinance with just drug-free zones, you kind of covered what you need. If somebody wants for some reason to be a drug-free zone, I suppose, and they happen to be a private group, then they could probably say they're a drug-free zone and have their own sign for it or something.
To answer your question, I believe there is one at the Common, which would include that area.
Yeah, I don't know, because I don't.
I believe there is, but I'm not positive.
I looked up, because Bob was saying drug-free safe zones. I mean, they're all, it's just different. I didn't see drug.
Well, if I remember right, the sign I just saw at the basketball, it said it was a drug-free zone, and then it said tobacco-free. So,
Yeah, like a smoke-free.
smoking,
The
right,
whole area they're supposed to be, because it's a park and a public walkway,
right.
but
Right.
it's people don't.
Well, that would certainly,
I mean, we're not gonna do I mean, the town is up to the task of enforcing it.
no, I'm fine, that makes it less complicated. I just made a list in case you wanted to put them somewhere on the map to see. I mean, I have maps of the entire town.
And the state,
Of every lot in town, I have the whole set, but we don't need that.
Alright, so we're all set on not needing the
We don't
actual
need-
maps, and we
I
don't
guess.
need the actual list of.
I think we should still have a rough estimate, and we should still know exactly what we're all agreeing to before we agree to it. But I think that as long as, like, if for
Should
some
we try to
reason,
put it on
if
here?
drug-free zones, 1,000-foot setback is like all of Bethel, then I wouldn't agree with it. But if there's,
The drug-free zones are gonna basically be the same as what's on her list. It's the schools, the churches, any parks, any,
I understand,
okay, so,
I just need, the setback, it extends that, the perimeter of
The
that
states.
property
if we're
to,
gonna go, because the state already has 500 on those, right?
so, no, that's medical. So state has 1,000-foot setback from schools only, okay? It's not drug-free zones at the state, it's only schools. So the Holton ordinance is the one that includes drug-free ordinances.
right,
Now, I don't know the size of Holton, but if it's more spread out than Bethel, that might work better for Holton. As opposed to Bethel, if it's too compact, and all the drug-free zones are spread out to the point where it encompasses the entire town, then I wouldn't support that policy.
well, okay, my understanding was that the schools, the churches, and all that was included.
No, that's just in Holton's ordinance, and that was what they elected to do by choice. That is not mandated by the state. Only thing mandated by the state is 1,000-foot setback from schools.
Mike?
Yeah, he's correct.
So that's why I think we should be careful about what we're choosing to include, because we could be essentially zoning the entire industry out of town. if we're sort of blindly following that language. I still think that we can have that as our plan A, as long as this map doesn't come back. I think we should still be looking for at least a rough estimate of what those boundaries would incorporate.
I think so too, because when voters go to vote, it's easier for them to look at a map and say, oh, here's where it is or here's where it isn't versus 1,000 foot. Now, I was just gonna say something, if Don doesn't mind, I have no problem coming in and I'm pretty good with this stuff and mapping. I used to do surveying. I would work on a rough map if you'd give me permission to. Just to save time for townspeople or.
Certainly, I think anybody volunteering to do something like that would be good.
I mean, I would just need access. This is just, it's up to you guys. My personal feelings are, I know it's complicated, I know it's a headache,
But it is nice to have a visual.
but I think when people go to vote, they can look and go, oh, well, it's pretty much zoned out of
So everyone's gonna
downtown,
get
so
passed
I'm
out a
okay
map?
with it, or, what's that?
Will
No,
everyone get passed out a map? I mean,
I thought you meant for us to use.
Well, I mean, it'd mainly be for you guys, but I don't know,
Yeah,
when
you're
they go to
talking-
vote, it might be nice to have a big one on the wall so they can see it.
Before the vote, maybe we
It
publicize
could be
it
helpful
somehow.
for everyone's
paper.
consideration.
And if they have a
what?
forum.
It'd be helpful for everyone's consideration, I think, as far as actually understanding.
We're seeing it, yeah.
Yeah, like
I mean, even
what
when
the
they-
effect of their decision would be, you know, both within the committee and the.
Even when they go vote, you could always have a big one on the wall.
Yeah,
When they walk in, they can look at it.
Well, and if they have a forum like Don mentioned, they sometimes put a big thing up on the screen. But I love maps, but I don't have,
But from the property line, it's a tedious thing to do. I agree with the
Yeah.
lady at the thing, it's a tedious thing to do
so
because,
basically the town's not willing to do that for.
well, I didn't ask her. I mean,
I don't know.
she
if she-
started
I don't know
with
if she can.
fines, days
I
and
don't know if she
weeks.
has
He
the,
probably doesn't have the time
the
for it.
intellectual, or the technological capability of doing it. It requires certain software.
Yeah,
You'd have to map the perimeter of the property, and then you would actually, from each border, you would have to extend that 1,000 feet. It would take time.
Okay, so what the map, let me just clarify one thing for my own sake, if nobody else's. But the map will show the drug-free zones, or the map is gonna show what?
I
That
think the
where
map-
they can have it or where they can't have it?
It would show the drug-free zones
Okay.
I have a question
and a
about
Yes.
setback from them.
drug-free zones. Who sets drug-free zones?
the
The
state,
town, or the state.
recreational, I read it last time, but
It is the
recreational
state.
facilities.
Okay, so joking a little while ago, somebody's, maybe, I don't know if it was me or not, but someone said just put up signs and then they wouldn't have it near them. Well, you can't just do that, right? Because that would be one heck of a mess for our code enforcement officer. Everybody just started putting up no smoking
I
areas.
think even when it comes to code enforcement, in my personal opinion, I think you need a map. I really do. I mean, when you walk into any town and permit something, usually they have zoning and they have a map where everything is zoned. Either it's okay or it isn't, or it's, I mean, Don, you're,
It's certainly great to have a map. The one thing that that's incumbent on a map is that it be right.
right.
So, that's always, I mean, we have town maps and, the old saying is do not buy or sell
Right.
on a town map. And the reason is everyone does the best that they can to place everything where it is, but
I mean,
it's
you
not
guys
sure.
have your town map and property lines, I'm not familiar with it, and I'm not trying to take up your time, but, is it in a AutoCAD format or something that,
Well, I certainly from a time past when it comes to the speak for that, I guess, but you can find almost anything you want on the town website now with, as far as property maps and.
yeah, I've seen all that, but
Yeah.
in order to do something automatic, Quinn's got a point, the property lines, they gotta be traced so that you can tell it, okay, 1,000-foot setback from this dark lines you just drew, or putting it on the property lines is really difficult because, I mean, someone's property line could be a triangle, so guess what? Now you're, or a zigzag
No,
or
no, I
something,
think
the
it would
property,
be-
that's tedious, it really is, no
I
matter
think
the way you look at it.
a good middle ground would be to, so instead of doing the measurement from the dead center of the property, if you could do, like, based on the radius from the center of the property, you could start the perimeter that farther out from, you know, from a circle.
I see what you're saying, yeah. If
So it's like
if
an
300
estimate.
feet from the circle, then put a circle, and you could actually see if it fell outside the property line, then you could darken that in. You could do it that way.
It wouldn't be exact, and there would need to be formal surveying done, like if somebody was actually, you know, in the situation where they would be going to the town saying, is this within 1,000 feet or not, you know, but it would at least give us a relatively accurate visual of what we're talking about.
So, but the only things you're gonna be outlining are gonna be the places that they cannot
If we elect,
near.
if we decide to put that in the ordinance, so the only places they cannot, as of now, until we add things to it,
Right.
are schools. So I think we should take the categories that we're considering, right, and pass that along to Mike, so that he can keep those in consideration when he's doing this mapping, and maybe we could even keep them like color coded or separate in a way where we could, oh, let's say it does take up too much space, we're not comfortable, there's no area that's really open to development, right? We remove one of those categories and we see that. We remove two categories, we see what it looks like then. And have options and have that data right there so that we can make a decision without having to like ask him to do another round of surveying.
By scale,
And
piece of plexi,
Yeah, you could,
No.
you could scale it
and
off.
just move it around, just take that with a piece of tape on it, and you move it here,
You could.
and that will show you your 1,000 feet, move it to this one, and it'll show you your
I've done a
1,000.
lot of mapping. I think the easiest way to do it, depending on what they got for software, is to put
Yeah.
tape and do a 1,000-foot circle around everything that you guys select. And then if you can see the property lines on it, then all you gotta do is darken in those corners of that circle that fall outside of that 1,000-foot. See what I'm saying? Is you got a property line like this and the circle's like this, and you just got a little corner, so you darken this in. And then you move on to the next one. That's probably the easiest, simplest way to do it, but like Don says, it's not 100% accurate because Oxford's actually battling this thing right now. They gave a permit to that big facility down there, and it was supposed to be, I forget what their setback was, 500 feet or whatever, it's a medical facility. Well, they didn't realize it was from the property line, and now
Build it from
they're,
the center.
they took it from the center, the town gave them the permit, so there's a lawsuit over that right now. I think it was settled last week and they went and moved forward with the permit, but it
They're changing.
came up that mainly puppies there by the old, well, they ended up selling their property because of it and moving up.
Oh, that's why they do it.
Yeah.
So Mike, just for the record, I put, will show approximate drug-free.
Approximate, because if somebody goes, okay, I wanna go here, then
Right.
you're gonna have to go have a survey. You're gonna have to.
exactly.
I mean,
Alright, so when we write the ordinance, we should be specifying that the setback is from the property line or where the setback is from,
The state
correct?
says, I believe, it's the property line, right, Quinn?
Yeah, I think that would be the way it would be understood
Okay, so,
in most situations, yeah.
yes, Jewel.
Another thing that in my, I was just talking to the code enforcement officer, because he was sitting there and I was asking him questions about something else, and he said that he went to some kind of workshop or something he heard that you might want to keep in mind, whether it's 1,000 feet as the crow flies or as the street goes. It can be different.
No, it was.
But that-
Like say Crescent Farms is
How many feet
located
is what-
here,
what is-
but
What
1,000
is this
feet
unit of
is
measurement?
over, if you live over in Bethel Park Apartments, you can't have a weapon because it's within 1,000 feet of the school through the
Right.
woods. So,
Is it a circle?
or it's down the road, or,
That's what we're talking about though.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's the
You
same
understand
effect
I
of
mean?
what we're-
He just
Oh, no,
brought it up.
yeah, it's the same thing with property, you know, cause if it's flat, an acre's an acre, but if it's a hill, it's more than an acre.
We should use
So-
that.
So we might
Alright.
want to specify by street or by road or something, not walking. I don't know how you want to do it, but he did bring it up. These are things that because I like maps. If I didn't have anything else to do, I would love to make. But this has every lot, so you could take them and put them together and make a, that would turn into a big map of Bethel if you pasted this all together. And then they're also individually available in big books at the town office or online. You can look up any of these.
Well, if we use the circle thing and then just black out what didn't fall in that circle as far as the property line, that'd be the easiest thing to do. 'Cause they've got something that drew a 1,000-foot circle on there automatically. They went here, click, and get rid of a 1,000-foot circle, so.
Take the map to Photoshop and just do a percentage like that. Collect the color on it.
And I have no issues working on it as long as Don's okay with me going in and getting access to a computer that you guys have all this stuff on. That's,
That, I will not, give you free rein to the town.
no, I understand that.
What will you champion?
I will,
But
I
Dawn
would
said-
offer up that they probably would help you with that. I think they probably would.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Not mine.
do we need this list for anything?
I think, well,
Well,
what was that
hold on.
list generated from? What categories were we
That-
talking, or was that just kind of
That
like
was from
freehanded
when,
in?
the last meeting when we were talking,
Uh-huh.
and people were saying this and that, and I just tried to remember them all.
Do they follow any
What?
specific,
Down.
They're
Well,
all
I actually
drug-free
put the
zones.
addresses on them too.
the churches are drug-free zones?
And the schools
Yeah.
and the parks.
Ball fields. Ball fields, yeah.
So I think that's what's on it, but there might be more, but.
So he should have this, or at least a
we can
copy
do
of it.
we can-
You wanna take a picture of it?
But I crossed out, did you see that I crossed out those campgrounds?
No, campgrounds, no.
Right.
All right,
And I was told that the
Got it.
historic district is Church, at least Sarah said it's Church Street and, Broad Street, so, yeah, so that counts as a historic district.
John, do you know? if
Kimball
there is a-
Park, where I live, is historic district as well.
Okay,
Do you know if the,
so did you get that?
across the street from you is posted as drug-free? The,
Town Common?
yes, thank you.
No, no, it's not posted.
It is not posted. So the Historical Society is not posted as drug-free?
You know, since we talked about it, I've been kind of looking for signs. I'm not aware of any that are there.
Okay.
I'll take another look, peeled eye tomorrow, but I've not seen any signs there.
So if it's not posted drug-free, then it's not our responsibility.
Yeah. I mean, making it the drug-free zones is us making it our responsibility.
Right.
Responsibility is mandated by the state of schools. Anything else is us assuming the
Right, it would be
responsibility.
the town, right, okay. So if, yeah, that's the way I see it. If it's not posted as drug-free, then,
I would imagine drug-free zones are probably required to be posted.
They are.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's that. Whatever's
Okay.
posted, that's what we should be considering.
okay.
It's an assumption, but you would think if the state's the one selecting what's drug-free and what's not, you'd think
Well,
they would provide the resources.
Schools are in, so maybe the churches are not either.
I would bet if I drove to all those churches, there wouldn't be signs.
I know there isn't one in West Bethel, I know that.
I just,
I mean, it's, the church is a private entity.
Yeah,
Does anybody know if there's one in Telstar?
I
yes.
would,
Yes,
yeah,
there is.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's signs?
The
Any-
schools are,
That's,
definitely,
that's the
the
school.
ball fields.
I've never noticed
Yeah,
it.
Any
But I don't
public
drive down the
school
street very often, to
Yeah,
be
for
honest.
sure
I
would
walk
have
from
one.
my
I've
house
never
to
seen
the,
The basketball court has one, I just saw it.
doesn't?
Yeah, like public property, public works type space, schools, things like that are all in every state.
Now, as far as
I've
across the street,
investigated.
So
the
churches
Valentine's-
probably not,
Probably not, because it's a private, it's
Right.
an entity, it's like a business, you know? it's-
separation.
Yeah,
And I don't know if Valentine Park over there is posted either.
Someone thought it was last meeting.
Okay. Well, like I said, the way I see it is if it's not posted, we're off the hook. I mean, if we say drug-free zones are exempted,
we're talking about posted drug-free zones, we're not
Exactly.
talking about places
posted,
that
right,
it's respectful.
town
Yeah,
posted, yes.
It's what's law, what's written.
And you're talking, excuse me,
Yes, sir,
you're talking about this applying to all 4 categories?
yes. Yes.
What about testing? Why is there required, you know, what is the logic I would
Okay,
say
okay.
behind?
I'm hoping that we can just stick with the agenda and
Sorry,
do,
sure.
I mean, I don't wanna cut you short, but we agreed that we were gonna start with cultivation, so can we
Oh.
just,
So not
Okay,
all
I'm
4
sorry.
categories, we're only
Right.
focusing on this right now,
okay, I mean, let's try and keep
More
it
than
so that
fair.
we can,
More than fair.
alright, okay.
Is Mike going to go to all these places and see if they've posted
No.
before he puts them in the map?
I'll put them on the
A
map.
Well,
quick
then
Google
they gotta
search
show
will
you
tell
one.
you what categories of space are posted or are mandated by the state to be drug-free zones. I'm sure there's like qualifications like if
There'll be a list at the town office too of
Okay,
what's.
that's what I was questioning, if there was a, yes. If there's an official list, and they are posted, okay. Alright, so like I said, let's try and keep to the agenda that we kind of started with, and I think what we could at this point maybe go over the recreational marijuana ordinances from Holden, and, let's get some feedback on that, because I sure do have some issues on it. Does everybody have it? You don't?
I have it on my phone.
I went through every sentence, I marked it up, I put some suggestions. I
Oh,
left it. Sorry.
no. Okay. So, we won't listen to John tonight, okay? No, you can butt in anytime you
This
need
one if you
to.
want.
Hey, I had it.
Okay, Jewel, we'll start with you.
I was going to call them today, but I did not get to it. And made some calls the other day to other towns, but, so this ordinance went into effect before that last law was passed.
Yep.
So the language and stuff, we could not have the exact language because it's not fitting anymore, correct? Like, we would be calling it like an ordinance for adult use, not,
Not a,
we have to make sure that we change types of languages that are in the old.
the definitions we
Yeah,
turned
the
on.
definitions, that's the word I was looking for. Because it's old.
Well, we're not gonna do it word for word anyways.
Right, but when we do definitions, we can't use like what they use,
No.
we have to change it.
It won't
And
be
does-
legally binding if it's not the right
What'd you say, it wouldn't be?
term. It would not. be.
Right, I was playing with trying to change it.
Okay, so the drug-free zone does list the athletic fields, public parks, playgrounds, and recreational facilities under the jurisdiction of the town that are designated as drug-free safe zones. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess drug-free safe zone is fine, in accordance with MRSA, Title 17. And that's the state
That,
title is?
I would
Okay.
imagine so.
Okay. So, I mean, that part of it sounds pretty good. Anyone have any comments on that part of it?
Other than what I've already said, no, just about seeing visually what that encompasses.
Right.
That was honestly, the majority of my feedback on the ordinance.
Really?
Yeah. was on
Okay,
that.
because the majority of my feedback is on all the licensing. We're not gonna be in charge of the licensing.
So, I had a few comments on that. You're right that we're not in charge of licensing, but we are allowed to, even if a candidate gets a license from the state? What goes first, state or town now?
You cannot apply for a
For the
license to
state.
the town until they have come up with an ordinance for it.
But what about, so do you apply to the town first or the state first?
That would depend. Like Holton, you could go apply there right now. The state law just says that you cannot apply to a town, a municipality, until they have their ordinances in place.
Gotcha.
So you could do either. If we had our ordinances in place and the state hadn't come up with the rules, we could come apply, but we couldn't do anything until you could get the state license.
Gotcha.
So you could do, it just depends on how things fall, I guess.
So you're saying,
But
if
you
we
do
have an
to
ordinance,
vote.
they have to apply to the town first and then the state?
You could do either one. The
As
state
long
law,
as we have,
as long as you have an ordinance. No one can come in and apply for an ordinance in for a license in a municipality until they have an ordinance in place.
so where does the license come from, the town or the state?
State.
The state, the town also has a permit that it
Oh,
will
okay.
issue. And I guess we could elect to make that permit eligible to people that have been approved by the state. That I think was at some point in language somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Or was it the other way around? You had to get approved by the town before getting.
No.
the other way?
It just states that you can't apply to a municipality until they have the ordinance in place. It doesn't say you need the state approval first versus municipality. I mean, theoretically, if the state didn't have their act together and the town had the ordinance, you could go apply here with the stipulation that you get state approval, you know?
So the
Or
timing,
vice versa.
the timing I guess does not matter unless we were to elect to have a provision in our ordinance that says you need state licensing
Well, what-
before.
What's the difference in the level of sort of scrutiny? For a state license, they're doing background checks and things like that?
Yep.
So they're doing a lot of that.
The state licensing
basic
is doing the
lifting, and then
background.
we're really just thinking about the
Which
town
I
and
think you're supposed to do.
the space in the town and all that.
Yeah, and in this ordinance here from Holton, like you were saying, there is a lot of language pertaining to the application with the town. Specifically criminal history checks, and I believe,
And
let's
that's
see
one
here,
of the
they
rules.
actually have, and Mike, you might have more knowledge of this than I do. So in here, I can't seem to find it right now, but it actually says, so anybody convicted of a specific type of crime is not eligible for licensing in the town. Now, is there,
It's the same as the state. I
Yeah.
is it the same as the
Same
state?
as-
Okay, so it's repetitive.
It's state laws.
That makes it
So
easier.
the municipality does not have to do all that.
No.
No.
No,
So
I
that's
think
why-
they just need like if you had a background check done or you have one done for your state application, then they also need that information
Okay.
probably on file.
So that's why I said, and there's so much in here about licensing that does not pertain to us
Right.
as far as I can tell. And it goes into, I mean, it even goes into the employees that have a 10%,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's state. If I'm not mistaken, that's a state.
yeah,
That's
so
all
I,
state, that's all state.
I don't
state
understand why
guidelines.
they have all that in their ordinance.
I think they just want it on file, and this is an assumption. I would imagine the town wants it on file. They want it on record with their personal records, even though it's repetitive, even though it's redundant. I don't think they're proposing any additional limitations outside of what the state's already done. I think they just want the same information.
Yes.
But they,
That's an
they know
assumption.
the state's final decision on things.
Mm.
Right.
They could know the state's final decision on things, but that doesn't
When
mean.
that was written though?
No, so that language, right, so that 10% of all owners, that is common language used in a lot of
Oh, is it?
these
Okay.
laws that are passed in various states. So that's a pretty common provision to have. They want to know who's running these businesses. They want to know who has a vested interest in these
Yeah.
businesses. And like 10% is, I've seen that number in other states.
Yeah, they all have to pass the criteria test by
They
the
want to make
state.
sure you're paying your taxes. They want to make sure all that type of stuff.
So when we get to licensing, why can't we just say, that you have to go by all the state guidelines
Yep.
and
I think.
instead of listing all the stuff like they did?
I
Do we
think they
have to-
probably just copied and pasted it. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, but we don't need to do that as well.
We don't need to.
Okay.
It's not,
As
it's
long
not,
as we say that.
it would
you have to
simply be for additional information to have on hand about the operators in the town.
It might make the uninformed feel a lot better if they see it. and they-
It's like the people that are applying for the licenses have to be as transparent with the town as they are with the state. So they have to have all that information as far as background checks and tax records and all, even though we're not regulating it, I think it's just,
But the town on a whole does not do that with any other licenses.
and if it complicates things, we don't have to.
Okay. We'll discuss it further later, I guess.
I think the fact that the state's already doing it, it's not necessary.
And that's-
And if they weren't doing it, I think it would be a feat to take on as a municipality.
I have a question.
Yes,
I think it pertains to what you're talking about, but, so in this ordinance from Holton, the purpose and authority to regulate the location, licensing, operation of retail marijuana, and they've got everything grouped together because they probably have zones or whatever, but, so when we do this, and we say adult use marijuana ordinance for cultivation businesses and government, is there some way in the very beginning, in our purpose and authority, that we can say something like to supplement the laws already in place as set forth by such as the state of Maine, and then, like, because what we're doing is in addition to that. So if we put that clearly in the beginning, then won't that make our job easier?
And if we also put that they have to have state first before they come to the town, then this has already been done, so why do we need to even address it?
do we have
They've
the right
already
to say
had.
that they have to go to the state first?
Why not?
Yeah.
I don't see why not.
I thought they had to.
Yeah.
anyway.
I think they do too, but,
It makes sense, I mean, they have to do all that background stuff and everything.
And then
The law
there's no-
doesn't say that though, it just says you can't apply to a municipality.
that doesn't.
Right, but the
It doesn't have an
municipality can set forth the ruling that you
Yes,
have to,
yes,
yeah.
I
okay,
agree, yep.
Okay. The other,
So if
and,
we put that first, then we have to come up with the wording, and then we have the right to say, to put the setbacks and such. But if we put that in the beginning, won't it lessen a lot of the words we have to write?
That it has
I would
to,
think
If
so.
we,
say it again.
if somehow in the beginning that we explain that this ordinance is like a supplement to the laws already in place as set forth by, like, I don't know what you call it, whatever this is called officially,
Yeah.
the act to implement.
State laws.
Yeah, the state laws, basically, but the real authority name, because they have all the,
I mean, that would be clear, but there wouldn't be any change in effect. The way that the state law reads already is what it is. So if we write that in, it's going to anybody that wants to read it and digest it, that's going to be more clear, but it still will always only be a supplement to those laws.
right, but we want the people to know that we
Sure.
have to go by the state laws.
If you
So
read-
that's why we don't have to put everything in here, like she was saying.
I think they might have put that in there just because the state laws hadn't settled.
yeah, they could be.
I think that's
yeah.
probably why they put it in there, because they
Yeah,
wanted
it
to
was
make
so far back,
sure.
right.
And
But
we
you
have
do
to
the-
mention, and the rules that will be written, they're still writing rules, right, to go with the law.
Well, they're coming up with license fees and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, like in reading the whole law, they keep talking about the rules.
What are the license fees for the state? Do you know?
They still haven't set them because it's anywhere from $500 to $2,000 for a 2,000 square foot grow house. They still haven't, they haven't defined what is the actual number.
What's it with the license for the state?
It depends.
On seating or?
A bar, well, it depends if you have food or not. If you're a bar, it's $2,000 a year. If you're just a bar and a restaurant, it's about $1,000 a year. Yeah.
So, in our ordinances, are we gonna set the licensing fee for each category?
We can.
Okay.
Which I mean, I don't think any of them should be,
Owners.
yeah, I
They should
don't
all be
think,
the same.
I think whether or not they're the exact same, I don't think any of them should be like inaccessible to your average person that wants to,
Yeah.
you know, you shouldn't price people out
Right.
participation.
No, it's not our purpose, but
But
Is
I
there
think
a
some
town
businesses,
liquor license as well?
no,
Okay.
just the state.
So this Holton is 500 per license on top of the state's, is that right?
Yes.
Is that how I'm
Yes.
reading it?
yeah.
So there's no, I'm
Pretty
just,
damn high to me.
there's no liquor
It's actually pretty low
fee
compared to
from
other
the
states.
town.
$50 a year, which is $35 if it's advertising that your license is being renewed. If anybody has an objection, raise your hand, public notice.
Wouldn't you think there'd be some kind of
And
system where
a,
if
where
there's been no
every 2 years,
I guess a
problems, you
victualler
know, the
license.
police haven't come, you get 10%
What
off
does
the
that
next
mean?
year or something, just.
Maybe
State
That's why I said I guess. It's your hospitality
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
place.
I kept
But I
seeing
think
that.
that falls under B&Bs too.
I mean, there's gotta
Yeah,
be some
I
type
think
of fee
mine is
because there is additional,
For the
maybe
hotel-
additional
motel,
enforcement.
it
There's
was-
additional
Yeah,
paperwork
yeah,
for the town,
yeah.
so there's gonna be
Yeah.
something to cover it somehow.
Yeah,
So in the ordinances from Holton, the certificate of occupancy kind of like threw me a little bit. They,
where, oh, okay.
on page 2,
Yep.
they, said that you couldn't do it in the airport development zone, which we have to ignore that, because we don't have that.
Right.
But, occupancy should be granted for any retail marijuana establishment unless the structure providing service is located. I don't even know why would we need that?
I don't think you do.
No, because we don't have zoning, so why wouldn't we?
Yeah, I don't think we need that one at all.
So we could just
Just
Cross out B.
number B is, letter B is out. And then when we get down to D, signage, that also mentions the airport development zone, so that's out of there. And the signage, we're not getting too involved in that either, because that's also not our category.
And it's covered by the state, as far
It-
as, no,
Well,
Well, I mean,
yeah, state.
I like the wording that they have there for no, there'll be no, what is it saying?
Pictorial
No,
representation.
right,
But
exactly.
isn't that right off the
Paraphernalia
state?
associated with use of- or
It's a
distribution
state.
of recreational marijuana. I mean, I like that wording, but that's where it needs to stop. I mean, we don't have, we're not gonna be regulating that, that's a whole different department.
So are we crossing out C too? What's C?
C is municipal.
Probably,
We're
yes.
Crossing off D,
Yeah, we're not doing anything with
Close enough for B.
B
occupancy.
and
Yeah.
D, did I hear?
Wait, so
Okay, John.
B and.
I was just gonna say, on signage, maybe there should just be a line that have to be compliant with the town's sign
In
ordinance.
addition to what it says there, I think the wording on there is excellent, I really do. And yeah, in accordance
So-
to the town
so use
regulations.
that? So
Where-
signage is just
Signage,
accordance.
yes.
To modify it.
And then it goes into security?
Oh, can we go back to C?
Sure.
Did we didn't say anything about, I don't.
Yeah, we said it's occupancy, so we're
Oh, so
not,
that's, so B and C.
B and C, yeah,
Okay.
Because we don't have zoning.
right.
but it's about safety. Isn't
What?
it? See?
What's it about?
No, that's talking about granting the certificate of occupancy based
Oh,
on
okay,
that
yeah,
qualification.
got it, yep.
So, if there's no certificate of occupancy,
Um,
we don't need
Security, I don't know that,
do you know of any state requirements for security?
Yeah, actually there are. I believe, I'm sure they're gonna come up with, you gotta have cameras in your facility. I don't know if there's, I've been checking, if there's a difference between a grow house and a retail store. I mean, like under the medical end, they have if you're an actual dispensary, you gotta have full-time video surveillance and everything has to be recorded and kept for X amount of time.
30 days.
30 days.
Is that what it
yeah.
is? 30 days,
It said
yep,
30
right there.
yeah,
That's like, this is the whole one.
So you got lockable doors, windows, so, I mean, that's something you could just write, must conform to state law.
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, according to state, yeah, okay. And the exterior lighting is also,
Yeah.
so then it goes in, oh, I'm sorry, John, do you have something?
No, it's okay.
Okay, and then it goes into ventilation, and I think we need to get rid of the number 1, because we don't have town ordinances on that.
What's number one say?
Comply with the odor nuisance control and abatement ordinance, and we don't have
We don't
the
have that.
odor
So that number
nuisance.
one is out.
I know there's a lot of concern on the
Yeah.
smell.
Yes,
I mean,
that's.
there is.
But we don't have an ordinance on it in the town.
And we discussed the potential of regulating it, and
Well, number
we haven't been
two-
able to come up with an effective way of doing it.
Right.
And number two is pretty explicit on,
I mean, it is what it is.
It is, yeah. Okay, got it.
I'm pretty sure,
So one is going,
One is
we're
going.
looking at two.
I think number two is pretty explicit as to the extent of what we can do.
there needs to be some type of odor mitigation system.
Will provide sufficient odor control measures and.
There are
That's by the name.
standard systems for the
Right.
industry, you don't,
Cultivation.
what's up?
But that talks about retail marijuana establishments only.
Okay,
I think that's the least of the smell is gonna be from there.
But John, this is from that old bill.
right.
That's when they
This
called
was written
everything
before.
retail marijuana. They called it retail marijuana cultivation.
And he's
retail.
talking about,
And, but
this
that's,
only is in reference to
Well, we can.
retail.
right, but I think this is from that, that old
You're right,
language.
you're right, I see that.
he said we have
Well,
a retail store.
They're adding in
Yeah.
some extra stuff here, okay? Because, which the state gives you permission to do, and, I mean, you guys are kind of working on the cultivation end here, and the indoor cultivation, in my opinion, it should be filtered. Charcoal filtered, so that it's not gonna bother your neighbors. I mean, if you're not,
But it says it has to be, the migration system installed has to be approved by, and stamped by the main licensing engineer, which is good enough, I think, for, we'll just change, we'll just add it to each individual, subject.
Category, yeah.
I mean, we may not need to
So-
have it for retail stores.
I mean, I don't know if you need a stamp by an engineer, that's a lot of cost, and then,
That's not.
I mean, when you guys
that's not
tour
what
my
the state
facility, it's so easy to control this odor, it's charcoal filters, it's so simple. It really
So
is.
So isn't there stuff in?
says. It's not a main, it's not a state,
That's not a state law.
that's not a
No,
state,
they added
okay,
this in there.
alright,
I mean, I think you gotta word it somehow so that you have adequate, grow houses have to have adequate ventilation
According
control
to the state.
as to control odors from,
does the state have any regulations?
No,
I haven't
No?
seen any in it, no.
Right.
I believe they have a little bit, I think it says adequate ventilation control. I do know that they have, I think they have more ventilation, I don't have the rules in front of me, but more control on the ventilation on the retail sales side. And that's
There's like-
downtown,
Where are
but
you gonna get, where are you gonna get smell there?
you're not gonna get as, you're not really,
It's all
Right.
packaged.
you're not, it's all
Right.
packaged.
So it's gonna be cultivation, and it's gonna be,
I'd say
Maybe
processing,
testing, I don't know.
I'd say you're
No.
processing labs, yeah. I mean, I think cultivation's the big deal, and
right.
I think you need to word it to where it's gonna be adequately controlled via carbon filtered or something, some
Right.
type of filtration system.
Well, it says mitigation system, whatever that is.
That's it, just to.
Order
case
control,
that-
so, measure, okay. Yes, sir. I thought you were sleeping, I'm sorry.
So you're categorically eliminating outdoor grows?
I was gonna say that, yeah, I mean, people are allowed to grow outside commercially under state law, and then there's also greenhouses, which are much more common, but still allowed. And I mean, that's like saying you're not allowed to utilize natural resources to produce your product. You're not allowed to have sun-grown product brought to market, which is not at all really a sustainable mindset in the industry.
But outdoor growing,
Or
and correct me if I'm wrong, but outdoor, the growing itself is not gonna produce a smell?
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
oh, yeah.
When it
Oh, yeah.
flowers.
Can you tell I don't know anything?
In the late season, in the harvest season, in the fall time.
Oh, just when you're harvesting
If
it,
you're-
but when
if
it's
you're-
just growing.
When it's just growing,
yes.
it does not produce a smell.
Thank
You got about a month and a half where
Flowering,
you've got
it produces a smell.
smell, you've got about, what, 3 weeks where you've got really potent smell
From,
when it's maturing.
oh, really?
Right before the harvest.
I mean, odor control would have to be indoor grow facility, has to be.
But it wouldn't be like a pig farm, which is 24/7.
Oh, thank God.
No,
Indoor facilities, I mean, you can,
So we're gonna specify just indoor facilities?
we could do that, or we could specify where.
You take it off,
What's that?
or just take it off. Because you don't really have a system, you don't have an ordinance in place. It's really, if it's offensive to your neighbor, then the neighbor's gonna complain about it. And if you
Look at
can't do
that.
something about it, then perhaps the neighbor's gonna complain to the selectmen. And then, right, and then what are the selectmen gonna do? They really, it's
Call your lawyer.
It's a hot potato, yeah, I mean, it's not
It's a
really,
legal battle,
so
expensive legal battle.
you might wanna just take it off.
I think anyone growing doors is gonna wanna ventilate.
You're really dealing with commercial cultivation here, aren't you?
Right.
Right.
Yes,
Yes.
From somebody's backyard,
So
it's not
eliminate number
commercial.
two?
Wait.
no, it's not, but it's still gonna produce a smell.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, you're not gonna be able to take that one away, I mean,
I
that's.
would think any responsible indoor commercial grower is gonna filter his air
Individuals trying
coming
to
in and
cultivate
out
plants for themselves
regardless.
outside.
They're done.
So there's gonna be smells, you know, even in places where we take precautions to make sure that commercial establishments aren't producing them. It's the nature of the law.
All right, so,
one of the things that may make it self-regulating is that somebody who is planning on growing only outdoors is not going to pay the state's fees for X number of square feet of growing, just to grow outdoors. So it may be self-regulated right there. Where somebody growing indoors is gonna grow 24/7, 12 months out of the year, they're
they're
gonna
gonna
filter
have
it.
filtration system, right?
Yeah, they're gonna air condition it, filter it.
I mean, you need a lab type environment grown inside, so, I mean, all the time I've been doing it, you filter air coming in and going out.
Yeah.
Always.
So we're gonna cross one.
All right, so are we, what is the outcome of this? Are we in agreement that we're gonna eliminate ventilation altogether? Or are we just going to specify for like cultivation and testing?
I think if we don't eliminate it, then the town has gotta figure out how to enforce it and how to measure it, correct? We don't have a, whatever they're called.
No, we don't.
measure smell.
The town does not know.
So that would be a big
So it's a
expense.
non-issue.
Right.
We sort of had the discussion in an earlier series of meetings, and we went through all the, you know, it wasn't one way or another when we initially just started talking about it. We said, well, what's the reality of trying to regulate this? And
There isn't
it
one.
seems that it's pretty difficult
Right.
and not, you know.
And you said
We
that
had
not many
several.
people would grow outdoors just because it's
No,
it's
the
gonna
only
be
thing
cost.
people are gonna do are gonna grow in greenhouses, and you're not gonna have a greenhouse like downtown Bethel, you know what I mean? People aren't gonna put a commercial sized greenhouse. It's gonna be on the outskirts of town, that's the only place where that would even be fitting to put in.
Well, it wouldn't, you couldn't put it in downtown.
No, there's no, yeah,
Setbacks.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think it should be a non-issue because like you said, I don't think we should do anything that would prevent somebody from utilizing, you know, infrastructure they already have or more cost-effective infrastructure or growing in a more sustainable fashion using natural sunlight. I think that's not,
Okay, so do we need to take a vote on eliminating that, or can we just,
We did.
we're just gonna
On the other ones.
eliminate it, okay? Number 1 and 2 under ventilation is gone.
I like what
Okay,
you said, Donna. I don't know how you said it, but it sounded good.
and I do like the permanent location, paragraph that they have, I think that's great,
I think that's a state
Yep.
rule again.
Yeah.
okay? So we don't need to have that, or, but it, I know, I think.
Permanent location.
did they take delivery services and everything out of the law? Was that
I
what you meant?
thought that it was,
Yeah.
the wording was in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does that mean, that we don't need it in ours, or we do?
That just means that I think that is
If they're going
in
to the
line
state
with what
first,
the state
before they come to
is
the
already
town with a
requiring.
permit, then they've already had to
Can't have a pot
do that,
truck.
you know what I mean? It's redundant.
Right, you can't have a food truck.
Because they disallowed deliveries. That's what they did.
Gotcha. So yeah,
Because they did have
it is
deliveries.
a reiteration
Oh,
Because
of,
okay.
originally it was in the original law.
yeah.
Okay, I was with you, I'm thinking that we're talking like a canteen truck.
I know, that's what I was,
Okay,
you were being
so number G is eliminated also, okay.
What about, okay, so what about this ordinance, I don't know if we've gotten to it yet, allows for the transfer of licenses,
Yes.
right? So in
Yeah.
that situation, would the license be allowed to be assigned to a new address? Because that's gonna be an issue.
I don't,
If
I don't
well,
think
that was
so.
another, well, we haven't got to that
If-
I
yet.
don't think a new address, I think taking over an existing,
Existing
Spot.
facility, yeah.
So what if, so I guess the licenses aren't limited. That would be an issue if the number of licenses were limited.
Right.
Because if you if you had to buy a building and the business and the license and move into that, I just think that's,
prohibitive.
Well, you know,
yeah.
we don't have the other two, committee members here, but they're the ones that were really vocally saying that they didn't want unlimited licensing out there.
Then I don't think that it should be a permanent address. We've discussed earlier at previous meetings that we don't think, or that the members at those meetings didn't think that there should be an artificial restriction of access to compete in this industry. I mean, the market's gonna regulate itself, they can't all operate forever. People might make it 6 months and then close their doors, the majority of everyone will. It's gonna be
I only
self-regulating.
brought that up because they're not here.
I know, but all markets in this area besides alcohol distribution are regulated in that fact. They're free market competition. So and I don't really see a reason, and at previous meetings, the members present also all agreed that there wasn't a reason to restrict that access.
Even alcohol distribution's not really,
There's not a limited number per county or anything like that, so if there's no precedent for that, I don't see a reason.
I'm not
for that.
arguing, I'm not arguing with that, it's
Yeah.
just that there was opposition there.
I understand. There's no reality in
a
which there can
former
be.
chairman had raised the subject and brought it up and talked about it being self-regulated, because what are you gonna do, say there's one or two or
Right.
three or four?
Yeah, he wasn't agreeing on that issue.
Yeah, I
Yeah, he
mean,
was.
so, I don't know.
There's no reality in which there can be 20 stores that open in
Enterprise.
this town. It just won't, it can't work that way.
I think that's the main concern is the retail store part when it comes to numbers, but like you said, it's a free market.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
I mean, Bethel won't,
we can't say
Bethel
that.
won't, they won't
You can't say
support
gas
100
station
pot
in
shops,
town.
they just won't.
If we would want to restrict the number of licenses in town, we would have to get way more involved with regulating who gets that license.
Okay, moving right on.
Yeah.
License application, again, I don't think we need all that. It's gonna be specified that they have to go by the state regulations for the licensing.
Right.
Okay? And license requirements that town must obtain license which
Yeah, that's.
granted on the same criteria regulations set forth in Title 7. Licensing which amount established shall, not hall, but shall require review and approval by the whole town council, which would be, yeah, Bethel, whatever. Town license be granted contingent upon applicant obtaining the license, okay. Any comments on the license requirements? They're valid for 1 year,
That's all state.
yeah, exactly.
So,
But I think,
I think,
must be at least 21.
is there anything different from the state regulations that we need to put in?
I don't think so, I don't think so.
Is there, what is in here on renewal? Is there anything in here on renewal? transfer,
alright, they have cultivation, they have marijuana store, they have product manufacturing and testing. They have all four of them on there.
I think it's state.
oh. The only difference, they just have renewal fees listed separately on here, but there's no actual requirements for renewal that are listed separately other than the fees.
Okay. So yeah, the license fees is, I think, okay,
Just a clarification, sorry,
yes,
I'm trying to keep my notes.
no
right.
problem.
License is state, permit is town.
Yes.
Yes, in this ordinance, it is not.
But ours should be,
I think.
because they're applying for a
that-
permit in the
Yes.
town of Bethel, okay, good.
I think that would
Because that,
help
Remember that,
organize things in my
So
mind.
good at doing that,
Oh.
thank
I
you.
do that category number 8, letter H.
Tell me what your question-
Licenses are transferable as long as all state requirements are met.
Page one.
I'm on page 6. And that, I think is a problem.
Why is that?
Can you read that?
The state
says
has it.
Licenses are transferable as long as all state requirements are met. What do they mean by transferable? Just to another person or another location?
Another entity, another business entity, so an individual, a business.
So same location.
It would not have to be necessarily unless you required that. That's what we were talking about with this permanent fixed location, having that clause in there. While even if it intended to say, if you're licensed for one location, you can't just pack up there and move your business to another one without reapplying with the town. But it might limit what real estate is actually, if the language is interpreted that way. If somebody sells their license,
Mhm.
and the entity individual that purchases it, buys their business, whatever infrastructure, equipment, whatever they have in that arrangement, right? If they're not allowed to potentially utilize that in a different location, as long as the town permits it, then they would have to be buying the real estate as well, which an individual wouldn't be able to sell their business without selling
Oh, I
the
see
real
what you
estate
mean,
then.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Which
kinda,
isn't-
I kinda agree with that, cause if
That's
I
not
wanna
what
sell
everyone
my
wants to
business
do.
and not my house and my property, and they'd wanna take it and move it, they'd have to apply for another license.
Why wouldn't they, that's exactly.
Another
Why wouldn't they
permit with
just
the town.
Apply for another license,
Permit with the town.
right, permit.
So the
What if they
the
wanted-
transfer of a license would require a new permit with the
A
town.
new permit with the town, but
But
I don't think there should be a reason why that would be denied as long as like
Yeah.
the state's saying, or this ordinance reads,
I-
the state requirements are met.
I disagree. If it's going to be transferred and they don't go to the state, then that means we have to do the background checking.
No, it says as long as state requirements are
That's
met.
included in state
Oh, okay.
requirements.
They're gonna have to go to the
Miss
state
the
first and get
They're gonna have to get permission from the state to sell their license to somebody else.
Okay.
And those,
Okay.
But the
Yeah.
state, right now, the language talks that they can do that.
They
Yes.
can do it,
Can do
but they can.
Yes.
But that individual is gonna have to be compliant, they're gonna have to pass
Everything.
that application.
And then they're gonna have to
And the
pass.
towns, if we have differing requirements from the state, then yeah, we would have them go through
so
that
we
process.
just need to make sure that they're getting a new permit, which is going to,
Right,
I think
Dictate the
if they
place.
are moving locations,
If they're
they
moving
should get
locations,
a new
sure.
permit,
Liquor
yes.
licenses are not transferable.
Is that right?
Even if
Sell
they-
your liquor
I
license.
can't sell
Even
my
if you,
business.
even if you
Right.
stay in the same location,
Yeah, it's crazy.
you have to get a
That's
new
weird.
new
It really
liquor
is
permit?
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
they want the money.
alright, so I think, do we need to add anything to that? I think we do, but I'm not.
I think it should be that the transfer of a license would require a new permit with the town if they were moving location.
Yep, I agree.
If they were moving
If they're moving location, because the town's already approved the present location.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Alright.
that encompasses it.
But that is what it says. It's
No, it
just that,
doesn't,
but they use the word license, we're using the word permit.
but it doesn't say anything about moving the location. The license,
Oh, so you're saying we need to explain?
Yeah,
That's just
so
a-
as long as the
Yeah.
location
Okay,
is
got it.
More
changing, then
No,
that's,
no new permit if no new location. A new permit if new location.
license are transferable as long as the location stays the same and all state requirements are met.
Yep.
Correct?
Because state requirements.
License or permit?
are-
Well, this says licenses.
I know, but they
Right.
use
That's the
license
word.
interchangeably. We can have permit refer to our town requirements, license refer to what you're given by
So
the
then we should
state.
specify town permit,
Yep, town permit,
permits
state
are
license,
transferable as long as the location stays,
the
The
same.
same,
The same,
and the new person
and as long
meets
as all
the
state requirements are met.
Yep.
Okay.
Because the state requires that ownership is 51%, you have to be residents of the state.
Is that what?
So,
Yeah, 51%. And those residents actually have to be a
Did you have
resident
a
for 4
question,
years.
3 years,
Joe?
4 years?
I wanna know who's,
I can't give you names, I'm sorry.
I want to know if the wording is coming from what she's doing.
No.
Write it down. And so, the wording,
No.
someone at the end of this is going to type this all out.
And then
yeah,
we can
that's why
wordsmith it a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but right now, where is that wording? Is it you, is it her? Where?
Permits are transferable as long as location
Well,
stays.
So licenses are
Combination of the two.
transferable as long as,
Well, everyone can make
Permit.
notes.
Permits.
on
So-
this is permits.
page
Anything with the town is permanent.
six.
It's to be kids, people are gonna understand that more because if they're gonna start saying license, then they're gonna get confused and think that they can take that out of whole license and just.
It will lead to miscommunication.
Yeah,
Okay.
So should we have done that someplace before too?
I think we
Specify
got
permits?
the general,
Okay.
everywhere, state is licensed, town is permit in our ordinance language.
So who is going to?
Let's get through the edits first, and then, Let's-
Who's gonna type it all out, Martha? Okay.
You'll get
She
the
needs
draft
to know
number
what
3 or
she's
4
doing.
fairly quickly.
She's gonna quit if she doesn't know.
No, I get obsessed, I get obsessed with words. I love
Okay, now we're
words.
down to license fees. And I am for the $500. Does anyone have any comments on that?
That's crazy.
Why?
This
It's
is,
every
wait,
year?
You skip
Yeah.
one.
wait.
Skip one.
The state's gonna charge you every year.
You skipped what?
I skipped what?
You skipped the 2I and J underneath.
Well, those are fine.
Hold on here.
Go right past those. Okay, any comments on I and J then? On page 6.
I
John, page 6. There. Upon receipt of an application for a new license or permit, okay. The
So-
town shall schedule a public hearing, which is automatic anyways, so,
I think that should just be whatever our regular policy is for
Exactly.
renewal of permits.
incomplete, false, or misleading applications will not be processed. I mean, I think that's cut and
Now, do
dry.
you hold a public hearing on a new restaurant or?
Yes.
liquor
So
store?
selectmen
public
meetings.
hearing, no.
Okay, what I'm saying is,
We do a selectmen's meeting,
Yeah.
right?
right,
Yeah.
which is fine, I'm just saying, they're calling for a public hearing.
Yeah, you don't want that.
You don't, I don't think you want that. Now, my
Oh,
opinion
okay.
is, on
Yeah.
the grower's end, we're, like, most of us are gonna apply, are already doing this, and it hasn't been an issue, so I don't know,
What's it called?
it's our personal property, I don't know why there'd be a public hearing
The
involved.
they go in front of the selectmen.
No, that says public hearing.
No, I'm
No,
saying.
I'm
We're
saying-
talking about in our town.
We go in front of the selectmen, so this has to be, reworded that applicants have to go in front of the selectmen,
It's like the application
not
itself,
less than
right?
45 days, is that correct, 45 days? Not less than 45 days? Or what is your requirement, time requirement?
I don't know.
Okay,
Well,
no
just-
less than, I don't know, days after.
No less than required.
Why not?
By the selectmen.
Whatever the number
Whatever the
is in
number is,
town
yeah.
code for all business
So this thing,
permits or licenses.
upon,
The state gives you a year, doesn't it? Gives the town a year to respond, to accept the permit, which is, this is, I think that's the language, isn't it?
They give
A year.
the business a year
I think
to
that's
secure
way
your
It's
permit,
crazy, but
yeah.
they do have.
or move locations.
Yeah, it's
One of the
I'm
two.
sorry, Mike, what?
The state gives you a year to secure your permit with the town, or move locations.
Oh, so there, he's saying if you get a license from the state,
Yeah,
that license from the state is valid for 1 year while you are working through your permitting with the town, unless you switch locations of your license. And I think
Okay,
it might be extended
that's
in
fine.
that
I
scenario.
mean, like, I
I'm
don't
not
know
sure.
what our timeframe is, either the time, but,
I think it should be the
She said
equivalent.
as required.
I don't think there should be
Whatever
a
it should be.
reason why these would just get like put on the back burner, these applications for these businesses.
no, they wouldn't, but this is just saying that the applicant has to be in front of the selectmen meeting, selectmen board within a certain time frame.
Understood. He was saying that the state, the way that the law reads, it actually gives the town a year, which is way too long, which
Oh,
is
yeah,
why
no,
this
no,
is
we're
good that this has this.
Yeah, we're not
Yeah.
going that way, but
Yeah.
I would like to know what, if there is a time frame
You
for
end up
us.
paying for another license.
If there's a objective
I'm
one
sure there
for all.
probably is, but I honestly don't know.
Alright, so, Dawn, can you get that information for us?
I certainly can
Thank you,
try.
thank you.
So in this is this an application for a new license or renewal? Is this like a license or a permit?
Or it'll be the permit, I mean, we already discussed it, it's gonna be permit.
We don't regulate licenses.
Or renewal, that's staying.
Yeah. Yeah, cause they have to go to the
And
select
public
board for
hearings
renewal.
going to
Just
just
get
get
Public
to,
hearing is going.
Gets put in.
Schedule. Okay. So, alright, so licensing fee, John
Jay?
said,
Sorry, Jay, we keep,
Jay, we keep, yeah.
I just think that, I think $500 a year, every year, on top of the state fee is onerous, I think that's high.
Do,
Mike, you said that they range from 500 to 2,000?
It depends on the.
Is that the state?
We're talking the grow right now. The state, it just says that they'll come up with license fees ranging from $500 to, I think it's 2,000, depending on the size of the facility, because there's a craft license where somebody can go mom and pop that wants to grow it, and they can go get a 30 plant license. Or you can get a 2,000 square foot, 7,000, or 30,000. So the fee's gonna be staggered, so.
So that brings up another subject, is the town gonna be issuing permits according to the size of,
I wouldn't think so.
I just think they're offering, if you get a license from the state and it's for 30 plants or for 2,000 square foot facility, I think the town would just offer a cultivation license.
Yeah.
okay,
Or permit.
Regardless.
Permit.
so.
Permit.
If
Across the board.
we would have to regulate them differently. Like we would have to have, if we were gonna treat them differently, we would have to have provisions regulating them differently in our ordinance. Like if we had separate fees, it would be like we'd almost have different definitions in our ordinance for each individual
Mhm.
scale of each license.
which would make way more work for the town, right?
For us,
Yeah,
And
and
for
but
us.
for the town to,
Yeah, because they
Right,
have
keep track
to,
of it.
yeah.
so
But
if
I-
they issue permits,
I hear what you're saying, and with, if somebody had to come in and, their license with the state was only $500, I don't really know why they should be spending $500 with the town in that scenario. It seems a little, heavy, I guess, but then again, I do think the town should be able to charge a fee.
Is there a town fee when you go up for your liquor license to renew?
No, I mean, it costs you maybe $50 because you have to advertise and that kind of thing. And we have to pay for the advertising.
what do you mean you have to advertise?
If your license comes up for renewal,
Right,
you have to advertise that your license is coming up for renewal,
Oh,
it's
so if
gonna be in
anybody
front of the
wants to-
selectmen,
So
if you have a
they-
problem
where
with
do you
it, or something.
advertise it, in the paper?
Sun Journal, they advertise it. The town places the ad,
But
they
the
just bill
town,
us,
oh, okay, the town bills you for the ad.
yes.
okay, discussion on fees, and that's where we are.
think it's
Wow.
reasonable to be higher than the
Yes, sir.
normal.
We have a hand risen.
What-
Risen.
Why would you bang people another $500? Why not make it simple for them, like a liquor license? I'm sorry, liquor permit, whatever it's called in Bethel. This is just a permit. Maybe a $100 the first year. After that, renewal is $50. But don't tag them for $500 on top of the state's $500.
To 2,000.
To
Play devil's advocate.
I mean,
Flip side, there probably will be some services that the town will have to do. I mean, I'm thinking with this, that they don't have to do for liquor. I mean, no one from the town or the sheriff's department or anything has ever walked in any of my establishments, the restaurant or the bar or the liquor store. I mean, but they might be involved with food odor.
odor complaints.
Parsing. I don't know.
There's a
Scratch
state,
it.
there's a state inspector.
Yeah.
And unless we charge
Yeah.
an individual or an office like the sheriff's office with enforcing those policies, that's not their job, unless there's a criminal complaint or, like that's the laws they enforce, but if there's nothing like that.
The state's gonna regulate this more than any other business out there.
Yeah.
They're gonna have state inspectors in your place, you are gonna follow the book to the letter, you are. I mean, it is in any state, it's highly, highly regulated.
Unless we stray like drastically from the state's guidelines, then we're not going to assume much additional cost for regulating this industry, because we're not charging we're not going to have to pay anybody, because we're not giving anybody the authority to do it, unless we decide to do that in our ordinance. But that was one of the reasons why we decided it wasn't a good idea to try to have an odor ordinance, because we're going to have to pay somebody to maintain and manage and use equipment, and it just starts adding up at that point. So.
And I think I think you're right, because that's litigated between, if someone files a complaint, you guys hash it out.
So they have each category separated out here. They're all the same. They're all the same cost.
Every single year.
Every year.
Yeah.
Yes. And renewals are the same cost.
Yeah.
Every year.
Yeah, that's good.
So let's see what we have for suggestions on that. I know we have one already,
Suggestion perhaps,
even though it says
initial
public
permit
comments
fee.
at the bottom here.
Yeah.
So do 2 in
And
1,
no renewal fee?
200 for your
That's what
first
I
initial
understand.
permit, and
That's
then
what I
$100 every year after that.
Yeah.
They're gonna be serious if they wanna do it, because $100 is not that much, but if you're gonna go $500 back to the state, then no, so go 2 in 1. That's reasonable.
That's what I had
And
in
if
mind.
I mean, that's reasonable to
serious,
me
you
too,
can
because
afford that, yeah.
it is.
That's exactly what I
I
had.
mean, the
in mind.
town does have additional work in going through all the paperwork and whatever, but
The fees shouldn't be a moneymaker.
Right,
It should be a
Or a deterrent.
covering cost.
and I think
I
2 in
agree.
1's gonna do it, because you're not gonna have a ton of people doing that, because they can't afford to do it. They have to do it right, and it is costly, so.
Well, I don't know how they get away with 500, but. So is everyone in agreement with 200 for the initial license and $100 for renewals?
So again, are these licenses or?
Oh, permits.
Permit.
We only regulate permits.
Don't say that word. The state does the license.
So,
The license may be referenced, but we only
Yes.
regulate permits.
We're doing permits. Wherever it says license here, pretty much we can assume it means permit. And license, means permit fees are non-refundable due upon receipt of a completed application. That stays like that. So it'll be 200 first, 100 renew. Alright. Wow, get my one here.
thank you, additional
Yeah.
people. All of you.
I want suspension and what were we at?
Yep.
Okay. says that the town council, which we don't have, may, after notice in public hearing, suspend, revoke, or refuse to renew a license for a retail marijuana establishment for failing to comply with this ordinance. That's up to the selectmen, correct? To revoke any license?
In most all of your ordinances there, it'll either start out with the code enforcement officer looking at a situation and then referring it to the board of selectmen.
Okay.
So we
And
don't
the
cross out
restriction,
town council and put selectmen.
it just, board of selectmen, I would
Yeah.
imagine would be the change there.
Would you have a public hearing? It says public hearing.
Um,
I don't
after
think so.
notice, Ian, no,
Why?
after after do you have to do notices on revoked licenses?
I think you probably would with something like this.
There's a meeting first, right? Wouldn't there be a meeting and there'd be a public commentary and?
Ultimately, it would be, completely out in the open. There's obviously some reason why code enforcement or whoever said somebody is not,
Compliant.
compliant, and we'd hear about that as a select board. You'd hear about that probably before the public did, and you'd say, well, if what we're hearing from code enforcement or from someone is true, you do a little research, you do a little investigation to try to find out, what the facts are, and then you probably would call somebody in a public meeting and say, here's the deal.
So there would be a public meeting?
Would it be a public meeting or would it be you'd ask them to come to your select board meeting,
Which is open to the.
which is open?
I think
Which,
that's,
yeah,
it wouldn't be like a town meeting,
no,
it'd be
Right.
a
Okay.
selectmen's meeting.
yeah,
So the
and it could very well be, depending on circumstances, it might be that you would call somebody in and you'd have an executive session with them. To if something is blatant and right out in the open, so to speak, and it's kind of the talk of the town, you really aren't required to go hide in the back room and talk about it. The other side of it is there are times when there are tax issues that we have, and you just don't do it publicly. You call somebody back and you back in an executive session and you say, here's, we need your side of the story.
So if we worded it, the selectmen may, after review, suspend, revoke, or refuse to renew a license?
Yeah, and
Just after review? Is
probably in your big blue book there, you have many examples of what
The wording
the
for
kind of
that
wording that you
paragraph.
would need.
that- Okay, I'll check that out.
Did we mention the code enforcement officer in there too? Because does he
I
get
don't-
involved first?
Well, it may not be him.
Oh.
It may not be him. It may be brought to the selectmen by,
Oh, anyway,
somebody.
okay. All right.
right.
And
Yes.
someone might go to the state with it first.
The state's gonna be right up everybody's butt with this anyway. Maybe what you do is put in there that upon the permit will be temporarily revoked based on the state having taken the license. Or it could-
So
if somebody's
No,
if somebody's
the state
screwing
takes the
up,
license, it's automatic.
then we're out of it.
Then,
If
yeah.
the state takes license, we're out of it.
so you, what do you need to do? You don't need to do anything with it.
I think it's one of those
Suspend,
paragraphs that
revoke, and
Yeah,
refuse
yeah.
to license, declare every time
It makes
comes-
everybody
Well,
comfortable.
it's probably in all the other
But the town
ordinances that have
has to reapprove
And make people feel
your permit every year.
Right,
So all
Oh,
you're
okay.
saying is they have the right to not renew it,
Yeah.
and you're trying to state a reason,
So, okay.
Yeah,
so
It's
they
just
have
saying if
that
you're in
right.
violation of the ordinance,
Yeah.
or, I guess this leaves the option
To
of
correct or abate any violation, that's the code
subjectively
enforcement officer is
interpret
operating.
like a excessive amount of police calls.
Yeah, so Jewel, in number 2, under that category, it says the code enforcement officer in there. I think we just need to get down to how we're gonna word the letter A. The
Upon
selectmen may,
non-compliance.
Well, isn't there something else for a license that you could find that same wording?
Just take after notice in public hearing. Select, Board of Selectmen may suspend, revoke, or refuse to renew a license for
There you go.
retail man
Yeah,
for failing to comply with the ordinance.
You could write like formal review, like, and I guess that would informally reference whatever process it might be.
Usually at the end of about every ordinance, there's a enforcement.
well, I have the findings of fact in the Bethel Planning Board has determined that the above referenced application must meet the review criteria based on the following, okay, not seeing anything that is really specific on licensing that's spelled out.
Is there, there's nothing pertaining to any renewal or,
No. Just this one here, which is, I just have.
So, why can't we just say, Board of Selectmen may after review suspend, revoke, or refuse to renew a permit for a cultivation facility for failing to comply with this ordinance?
Well, that's the way I said it. That's just the way I said it.
Just
Well,
take those
because-
words out.
Then they'll say specifically where you're failing to comply, and that wouldn't list all the possible complaints that they might have against.
Well,
we don't-
the B's not so bad either, if
But
you
then-
kept that in there.
Yeah, so if you kept going,
Because it talks about number and types of complaints, law enforcement received and investigated,
Right.
failure to correct or abate. So it gives you a couple specifics. I think if you left that, that's not a bad thing.
So, yeah, that's the way I had it,
so keep the,
had an understanding.
except when we put Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, the selectmen after review, we're gonna take out public hearing.
Right.
How about after review and meeting? Do we need to put that in?
discussion.
After meeting and review, or do we need to put
You mean meeting with,
the
Are
select
you on
board
A?
meeting?
oh,
That's what notice would be.
Well, if the select board's gonna review anything, it's going to be a,
And a meeting,
Yeah,
yeah, okay, so, all right, after review. And then the rest, B and 1 and 2 are gonna stay.
I think other people are.
Except for B says town council, which we don't have.
Yep,
So
substitute board for town council.
Selectmen. Yep. Okay. Regulations is pretty cut and dry.
Does the state,
Boy, I don't think so.
does the state
Really?
have,
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think that's state A.
does.
so does the state ban felons? Does the state ban anybody? Because the way that this reads, I mean, you could be banning people that have been charged with possession of cannabis from participating
Yeah.
in the industry, which I think is very wrong.
The state is actually, it has to,
If it was like felons or something, if there was a
it
different,
has to be a felony drug
Qualifier.
charge, I believe, the state
under the
law.
state law,
Yeah.
I
Pretty
think
sure.
that it should follow the state guidelines.
Yeah, if somebody got arrested for possession of an ounce of marijuana, they're not
The
banning those
liquor
people.
application every year asks you if you've been convicted of anything greater than a traffic ticket.
What does?
The state liquor license renewal
Yeah.
application every year,
Yeah.
they ask you that question.
Sure.
And you have to say yes or no.
Sure.
And if you have to say yes, then you have to get the details. I don't know what happens if you do say yes and what they do with it, but it is on their application that they want to know that every year.
Sure.
Anything greater than a traffic ticket.
I mean, but this
But
is,
is
you're
that
already
for
getting a background
the
check
whole
on you.
board? If you had a board that owns your restaurant, because that's what this says.
When you report.
It
It's saying
says if a
anybody with
principal
10%.
officer or a board member is convicted. I mean, I just think it seems,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that there should be a disqualifier pertaining that would eliminate people that have been charged with cannabis-related crimes from participating in this industry. I think if we followed the guidelines of felony convictions, that might be better. I mean that's already required by the state, so.
So I'm saying it's a state,
Yeah, I don't think that we should be doing anything more than what's required by the state as far as prohibiting people from being employed or anything like that. The background history is already required. All that information will already come from the state application.
So for the state application, are you listing your employees?
You have to get you actually have to submit for them, and they have to run a background check, and they literally,
They get like
they
a-
have to have a badge
Yeah.
to work.
They get
in your
certified to
facility.
work in the industry, yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Well, it's like Colorado, everyone has, if you work in the industry, you've gone through the state process and you have a badge, same with me.
well,
Alright, so background history is, or I mean, regulations, we're gonna not do that?
I
the
would,
state
I would go by
guidelines.
state.
Yeah.
I mean, do we want our code enforcement officer or our town to have to do all these background checks? If the state's already done them, why do they wanna have to do them?
The state's issuing a license, we're just issuing a permit,
Right,
so.
I think it's redundant with.
The reason why that's in there is because they are requiring, they have additional disqualifiers for people that want to work or open a business by citing the state or federal controlled substance law. So yeah, we would be required in that situation to enforce any additional policy. We wouldn't necessarily take the bill for a background check, but we would be forced to enforce that. But like I said, I don't see any reason to do that, because that language there, in my mind, would disqualify people who have had cannabis-related charges from working in the industry, which I
This
think all
language
around is wrong.
specifically targets that.
Yeah, definitely.
What's that?
This language
Exactly,
specifically
yeah.
targets.
Which why I think we should just defer to the
And
language that's in the
but they won't
state.
be eliminated by the state already?
They won't,
They
no.
won't.
So I don't think we should take it upon ourselves to tell them that they can't have a job.
Okay, so under regulations, A and B are both out.
Those are state mandates,
Okay. We don't,
largely,
so,
What?
yeah.
so you don't need them.
Yep.
But then we have number 2 also, number 1 and number 2 would be out. We have the criminal history investigation, no, that's out. But C,
$100.
Background history, great idea.
Background history,
no retail marijuana establishment shall operate a drive-through or a drive-up window service. Is that a state?
That's state law.
That's a state, okay. Then we're out of that also.
Geez, that was quick, you guys. Give me a break. Holy cow. We're like 2 hours in. Okay, 1 and 2 are out.
1,
Keep
2, and C, also C.
And C,
So it's
A,
it's
Oh,
B.
1,
A,
2, and
B,
C.
yeah,
Okay.
B is 1 and 2, and C is our also.
regulations number 8 is all out.
So background history's out.
Yes.
That's a state requirement.
Required notices. That's all state also, isn't it? Although no, I think we should list those. Just the CYA.
I have a problem with number 1. Because what happens if it's in their home?
It would have to be in a
You
part
can't.
of their home that isn't licensed to do business. And
So it would just, the house would be separate from, because the way it reads right now, you wouldn't be able to smoke in your own home. If you own a business
or a premises.
Marijuana is illegal.
Here, you wanna look at it here, it's easier.
So, okay, so I think what this is like for customers.
Right, but it doesn't say that, it says on-site consumption of marijuana.
We should
So
write
we
that
have
we
to
are then like
specify this
visible for
Sign containing the
like
following
public,
information.
required public notices, you know, like I don't, if you're running a business out of one part of your home, I sort of doubt you're gonna
This does
do it.
This is
in
a
the-
sign that's gonna be
retail
posted
marijuana
inside.
store.
Yeah, this is gonna be
I think that's
posted
geared
inside.
towards a retail
A
store.
store.
But this, but
As
so,
long as,
this is, we're still talking about cultivation, right? So
It's specified, what?
But this,
we're still doing,
Right.
we're only doing cultivation right now, so does
Right.
that need to
Well,
be?
yeah, well, we're not specifically doing cultivation, we're just reviewing these in general, because we have to specify each individual category after we get this in
Right.
order.
so when we get to the cultivation one, it won't be the same as, this is specifically for the retail.
This particular category is specifically for the retail store.
So that,
we
So
don't
this
need
is all good because it should be posted in stores. Correct?
Yep,
So, okay,
But,
not needed for cultivation.
here we go.
Right.
In one of the business, they're allowed to sample, and I can't remember which one it is, but I mean, the employees, it's part of like their, I'll have to look it up, it's kind of, I'm not sure, no, it wasn't.
the wine tasting.
I don't know, but it's
in
like,
the process.
it's like I wouldn't want to
think it's-
work
yeah,
there.
it's not, it wouldn't be on the floor in public view, it would,
Okay, guys, we're running out of time here. Let's see if we can get through these. Right of access.
Personally, on my time, when I was smoking pot. So,
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
like it has to be in there. Indemnification.
That's good.
Okay, so it's a license.
So wait a minute, when we use that, do
Yeah.
we know what Title VII MSRA Chapter 417 is? Because we're not gonna put that in there unless we know what it is, right? Can anyone here tell me what that is?
Let me Google it.
Because again, they were going by the old
I think, isn't that
bill, so
isn't that the old bill?
I don't know.
What's it called?
I've looked,
but that'll be.
Title VII MSRA Chapter 417. I mean, they throw these things in and
I think
out. I
four
just,
seventeen is the actual real bill they passed, I think.
but
It's
this,
his chapter,
but not, it's not
This went into effect in
It's not
February.
this. This is way
no,
before
that
this.
should be, okay, that's right, that's the
So-
one before it, because this is, 409
But
is
when
the
we go
law.
back through and
Right,
change
so
the wording,
Yeah,
we
that
just,
needs to
we
be
have to
changed.
make sure that
we
we
would
don't put
update these, right?
those
Right.
things in there, wherever they are.
Okay.
409 is the past law, not
Okay.
17.
409.
And so, I mean, but why can't we just call it?
Is it still Title VII?
I mean, because there's all kinds of chapters.
So that was it, right, so, use correct law
Yes,
numbers,
yes.
law number.
Title and chapter numbers, yeah.
Doing good.
Bye.
Thank you.
But maybe you have a reference sheet anyway.
What?
You put in here when you put the in, where do you get that from? Sort of like your state regulations.
Yeah, it's right
They
here.
gotta stay up to par
So
with
it's-
what the state requires.
You get
can put that number for the state regulations so they know where to
I don't
bounce
see
it up
it in
to. Yeah, so just like an addendum that you put to anything that you write.
So we have to make sure they're correct.
Yeah.
Indemnification,
So that one's okay, right? It's nothing,
I think that's pretty standard.
yeah.
Indemnification, just A.
Well, no,
A, I accept the resignation.
A permit,
Oh,
right?
Is that spelled wrong?
A permit.
Yes, there.
I think they're missing an N.
There are some spelling errors in this.
Yes, there is.
Indemnification.
There's a couple
Indemnification.
more too.
Indemnifications, yeah.
Indemnification.
Yeah.
Is okay.
I haven't
so
heard
far.
anything different.
Yeah, that's what you do is protect them.
Hold harmless town. It's an officer's official, the liability account injury. Lots of limitations, bodily injury. Okay, state law, and even state, yes. That one definitely we have to put in there.
State law.
State law, I mean, yeah.
Maybe this is where we can put rules and rules somehow to make sure that someone says, well, I'm gonna change the rules. And it's all set beforehand.
Regulation, I think, would entail rules.
Okay.
Almost done.
Okay, almost. So the next one is sales tax officer. Oh, that's not us.
But that's where they say retain and it's
Yes,
supposed to
there's
be
a typo
retail.
there. Retain,
But it's not,
retail.
it's not, we don't call it that anymore anyway.
So this is, so the status of this, you might be able to tell me, we still have to get municipal taxes approved by the state before implementing them. Like special municipal taxes, so there's the maximum municipal sales tax authorized by the state statute. Cause I know that, like, towns weren't allowed to charge taxes, they were allowed to
Wait, could you put your information?
charge a
Oh,
fee,
yeah.
a one-time fee or an annual fee. They weren't
Well-
allowed to take like a percentage of sales tax specific to, or just for the
Well,
municipality.
right now, there is no, you can't put a sales tax on it as far as
You
the
can't.
municipality, because before, they were gonna be able to, but they changed that.
That's what I
And this says,
Yeah.
as authorized by the state statute, as it shall be enacted, which right now there isn't any, but they left it open or amended, so maybe down the road they amend it and
If
give
they
you
allow you
permission.
to charge special
Exactly.
tax for the
So we,
municipality.
so we leave it.
We could if, yeah,
I think
if we
should.
want to.
Yeah, I think we should. Does anyone have any comment on that?
Yeah,
Which
this,
one?
this is under
Retail.
retail. This is under
Retail
retail sales, it's not.
Retail or establishment,
Yeah,
right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, the cultivation tax is already crazy. I don't even know
And on the amendments?
So do we put we don't need to put anything in it, in the cultivation ordinance about the taxes, right?
Yes, no.
Okay.
No, it's only retail.
Amendments, this ordinance may be amended by the town council, which we don't have, it would be selectmen. I don't know about the public hearing.
I think there should be, to amend an ordinance, you'd have to go to a town meeting or a special town meeting, right? Isn't that what's
Yes.
normal
Yeah,
for us?
okay, there you go. So it'd be, yeah, it'd be a town meeting, okay. By the selectmen. Selectmen after proper notice and
Town meeting.
town meeting.
Now, that may be,
So wait a minute,
that could be a very problematic,
Yes, wait a minute.
extremely problematic.
wait a minute. So, a town meeting, like they said, costs so much to have a special town meeting, can it be like a select board? I mean, the select board meetings are public, so can't they have a special select board meeting?
This is
No, for an
just the way it
ordinance,
goes, I mean,
I think that,
this is the
You
procedure.
don't want the selectmen to be able to
Yeah, this is the
amend
procedure,
ordinances just
Oh,
after our meetings. You want the town to have to vote
Yeah.
on it.
Okay,
this is protocol for that kind of thing.
that's the word.
Protocol, yes.
so then what about the 7 days?
Okay. I don't know about the amendment shall take effect 7 days after approval by the selectmen and remain in effect until further amended or repealed. I don't know about the 7 days.
I don't think it should just be the approval of the town council.
Amendment
either. I
shall
think
take
it should be
effect after approval. Okay, so
After.
we'll leave out the 7 days.
After a town vote, I think.
It
is what it
says
should
amendment
say.
shall take effect after approval by the selectmen and remain in effect until further, the selectmen at the town meeting?
No, well, the selectmen aren't dictating at that point. If it's going to town vote, if the town votes it in, it's in. The selectmen don't get to say, oh, well, never
Right.
mind.
Do over.
Yeah. So
Alright,
it's
so
not up to
take
the
effect-
selectmen, it's up to the result of the
Alright,
town
so
vote.
By the voters,
Yeah,
approval
yes.
by the voters?
How about amendments that are passed shall take effect however many days? There
Passed
shouldn't
by
be,
a town vote.
By town vote.
Yeah,
There
we need to
have anything
be
about
careful
the
about it.
Amendments shall take effect,
Oh, pass.
take after approval by, are we doing the 7 days?
Yeah.
We are doing the 7 days?
If it's all approved.
Yeah, why
Not the
not?
same.
I mean, our,
Already wrote it.
She has a computer, it's already, it's written down.
It's in print, oh my god,
it
okay.
sounds, it just
After
sounds
7
good.
days,
I mean,
after approval,
the moratorium went in
Speech,
effect that night, so why can't
Yeah.
anything else just be? I mean, 7 days is plenty of
oh
time.
no, that's fine, okay. Approval by the, what was the wording? Approval by the,
Amendments passed by a town vote will take effect in 7 days.
Yes.
There, wordsmith.
thank
Love
you,
it.
Martha.
I cannot express how thankful I am that you did the notes tonight.
I picked a great night to start.
Okay, penalties. This one shall be effective in municipal offices and disagree. This is one shall be subject to enforcement penalties and finance.
I already know some more.
I don't know what those titles are.
Title 38, we gotta look these
I
up.
don't know what those
Yeah.
are, yeah. This ordinance shall be enforced by the municipal officers or the designee.
Please.
Violations of this ordinance shall be subject to the enforcement and penalty provisions. Yeah, we need to look that up, because I don't know, that sounded like we don't want to have that.
Well, there's penalties for, the state has penalties. Let's go with that.
State does,
The state has
but
penalties.
this says enforced by the municipal officers and their designees. And, so that means the town.
Yeah, if I was code enforcement officer, probably. Yeah, I don't know, cause I mean, is the town gonna put penalties?
Yeah, it's like,
They're gonna pull the
Offside
permits.
kick.
Yeah.
Right, they have to go according to,
The town, I mean, they're just
Permits.
not gonna, they're just gonna revoke the permit,
Right,
Right.
and
right?
that's already been stated here somewhere, right? Isn't
this
something
ordinance
about
shall be
revoking if
enforced,
they
I think,
break-in?
I think in the state there, you do have to pay.
Enforcement.
Is
I know there are penalties.
Penalties
Yeah.
for financial or?
I think they can be, yeah, with the state. And then they can be financial, I think they can be like a probationary type,
Oh, yeah.
you know, type
Title
of
38.
status that you get assigned or.
4452.
I wanna make an index.
Planning, land
Does
use.
the town do penalties for anything else?
There you go.
Well, the code enforcement has rulings and the sign ordinance has rulings, so I mean, you know, we have to go according to the municipal,
Town of Bethel.
yeah, their
Rules.
rules.
Yeah, you get like fined if you don't like clean up your
I don't know
Yeah,
if they do
grass
fines.
by
This
the
is,
sidewalk or
this gives,
something?
this
or-
gives the town the right, code enforcement officer, plumbing inspector,
Right.
building
Okay.
official,
Right,
to enter any property at reasonable hours with
Fire
permission
department.
of the owner.
Yeah.
To inspect the property for compliance with laws, ordinances,
okay.
So this is just building.
issue a summons to any
plumbing,
person who violates law or ordinance.
This would be, the town,
This is like they wanna come in and check how your sewer is, so they
Yeah.
charge you $200 to
And
stick
that's
a
what
thing
this-
down your pipe and
this
send you
is-
a bill.
And
Yeah,
something's
so
wrong,
goes-
they're gonna give you a notice to fix it.
with the findings of fact, and this is what the planning board goes through for everything, everybody who goes in front of them.
That makes
And
sense.
it specifies everything, I mean, municipal water supply. Oh, it goes on and on and on. Yeah, it's all the water, groundwater flood areas, and then it goes into the fire, and it goes into all the roads and streets, and sidewalks, and all that stuff. So this all has to be approved before a new building is put up.
A new
Yeah,
permit,
understood.
correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
A new building.
Mhm.
So there's all these rules that they're talking about here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna just
Whatever our
violations of
title and section are, right?
For the town or for the state?
But that's a state,
That's a state.
so we don't need to put state regulations.
Well, it
in
gives
there.
the town, the state rule or state law gives the authority to the town, the code enforcement officer, building inspector.
Okay, so we're gonna
Gotcha.
leave it the way it
Go
is.
in.
I'm saying,
And
so
inspect.
this
So,
with the
yeah.
right state
So penalties
So I
will
think that's
stay,
correct.
It
That
stays.
doesn't change.
Okay.
law,
That's
but
part
it,
of
but it may be minging it up.
and I think the
pretty
sort
good.
of-
No, I get it, I looked up the number that they
I
have
think
here.
that is the state number
This-
that
Okay.
will
Yeah.
also apply
Comes
to
under that
our
section.
municipality.
Okay, so just
and I
keep
think the
this.
servability.
For Title 38 MRSA section
Yeah.
445.
So that's not
correct?
specific to the
Yeah,
marijuana law.
No.
no,
That's
And I don't think it's
That's-
specific to Holton either. I think that's
Right.
the state.
yeah, so servability sounds like it's something we need to keep,
Yeah,
okay?
that's pretty standard.
Let's keep the date February 1st, 2018, I think that's great.
I
So,
don't think we can do that.
Penalties are staying as it is, correct?
yes,
For the purposes of licensing retail marijuana stores, retail marijuana testing facilities, cultivation facilities, regional manufacturing, this ordinance becomes
That's-
effective.
It's just
Well,
effective date,
we
that's
have
what
to just-
change when we.
We have to,
Make it.
yeah. All right, good job.
Good
Good
job,
job, look at
everyone.
that,
You
8
too.
o'clock on the dot.
Nice.
we have
All
anything
right.
else? Hold on.
Did anyone in the viewing audience, John has eye issues, that's why he wears his sunglasses, he's not
Okay,
strong.
okay. Do we have any comments?
Only the right eye, the left eye's not so
Yeah,
bad.
but I don't have that.
Guys,
I don't have that.
Good job, everyone. If the other two were here, you wouldn't have got past
It's a
it.
taxpayer.
I'm calling them.
That's
Just
why,
trying to wrap up here.
Yeah.
that's why she's
Yeah.
here and not away from her
Right.
Sorry, date of the next meeting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, see, we haven't finished yet.
We're still working on the agenda,
Okay,
folks.
public comments or discussion?
Great job.
Yeah,
All right,
good job.
You're done,
I'm
okay.
glad two weren't here, cause you'd still be on the first page.
That's why she's not next
Okay.
meeting.
This- We need to discuss the next meeting
Yeah.
date.
Yes,
And that's
Does
okay.
everyone have their calendars, because the next
They have a
Wednesday,
mirror.
the next meeting is July
Oh,
4th.
is that right?
Yeah.
I would still like to meet that week.
They have a
We
mirror.
Can we
Cha-
meet on the
can-
third?
Do we have the right to change it?
Sure. Yes.
I think we do.
Sure.
I mean,
Why
like,
not?
the
Have the right
select board
to-
meeting, people don't like what we do.
We can, it's as, I mean, this is the meeting. We
Okay.
vote as
So-
is, it's,
And you have enough people.
Well,
Donna,
I don't, do we need quorum at formal meetings to vote, or is that just at the auxiliary meetings
Oh,
that we
no,
were held to
I
that?
think you need
it
it
has to
for-
be at every
yeah.
meeting.
I think
So
you have
what,
to have a
what are we gonna
quorum.
vote on?
Majority.
Of the total
Yes,
committee,
Yes,
not members present, yeah.
yes.
you have a quorum.
Do it?
Yep.
No, we do have a quorum.
We're,
I'd like
I
to.
I would
Only
like to
missing
see if we can change the next meeting date from July 4th to July 5th.
I didn't think we were supposed to meet on the 4th. I
Well,
thought it's.
That is the next, that is
That's the
the
next
next
one.
scheduled meeting.
But-
But
Wait.
it,
it's on a holiday, so we won't have it on that day, but
Oh, I see.
my suggestion is that we have it on the next day, if that's in approval with everybody.
So it'd be a Thursday instead of Wednesday.
Right.
It's not a Tuesday.
It's not a, select
No,
board.
no, because that's still part of the holiday
Oh,
time,
okay.
and I may not be here.
I can make myself available.
Does anyone have first of all, let's take a vote. Do we want to change the date?
I think
I
we
would
I make
should.
a
be-
motion that we change the date.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor? All right, and now, does someone want to make a recommendation as to when the next meeting is gonna be? Well, that was.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Donna's-
Okay,
Donna's-
okay.
All those in favor?
Next meeting,
It's Donna's phone.
next meeting is July 5th.
Okay.
Same place, same time.
No, you don't have to book this place.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
No, she said it was booked until, wait a minute.
But it was booked
No,
for,
she,
Yeah.
But
we
Christine
do
said it was
date
only
and
booked for the
time.
last two.
No, what,
July 5th.
Look at right now.
wrote
Sorry,
that-
guys, my phone's doing its own thing.
She said it was booked until July 18th.
But she
yeah,
did,
but that's just Wednesdays.
but she didn't consider the 4th, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So,
All right, dates
Yeah.
after that will need to be reserved via, all right, I'll put it in.
You can go online.
Yeah, I'm going right now.
You doing it right now?
you are
These
quick.
young guys, they
You are the
they know
best.
how to run their
These
their
young
phones.
whippersnappers.
No, it dials people. It'll start dialing down my list and it won't stop.
Oh,
It'll,
great.
someone will come on, it'll hang up, and it'll dial another number, it'll pull up I gotta throw this thing out. It's
Okay.
at it. Sorry, I apologize.
No,
I apologize
I
for my
move
messed
the
up phone.
You French. love
Second
it.
it.
What?
Are we done? Sorry.
Yes, we're done.
Adjourn.
Adjourned.
Wait, I gotta book this.
8:05.
What am I booking this for?
July 5th,
What time? 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
It's in my bag. I had people texting me, you popped it down with me, you hooked up, and I'm sitting there going,
Yeah.
This will do it?
come to my phone, I'm going,
No, I have
It's Savannah's 21st birthday.
You shouldn't drink and
no.
drive.
oh, and it's over.
You won't be able to
I mean,
come?
I had like 45
She's in
messages going.
Delaware.
Oh,
Unless I
That's
go,
why
if I go to
I
Delaware.
Donna's.
I intend to tell you gonna do that. But if you need someone to ride with you.
Yeah, I was talking to my son, because he couldn't call me on Father's Day, and I kept hanging up on him.
You're going to be.
Yeah, that's where our phone is doing. We'll like call you, it will ring twice.
Yep, exactly, that's what this is doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Crazy.
crazy.
AT&T's way of just.
All right.
Alright.
That's it? We're good?
We're good.
Good job, everybody.
Good job, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't quite do cultivation, but we have a basis now.
Oh, so somebody mentioned wanting to tour my facility.
Yes, oh yes, I wanted to bring that up.
Can we get samples?
Okay, I'm turning off the camera.